Well, hello, everybody, and thank you very much for giving up your time today to come along to this webinar with me, Sean Jardine. I've got about an hour with you today, and we've got quite a lot of ground to cover in that 1 hour or so. This is the agenda. Okay, I'm going to take you through a lot of slides, and apologies about that. If you want them, ping me an email at the end and I'll send them to you. Okay, I will try and engage you via the chat, although with the way my luck is going at the moment, you won't actually, I won't be able to see it, but I'll try. I'm going to tell you who I am. I'm going to do a little bit about value-based pricing. I'm going to bang on about change management. I'm going to plug my book unmercilessly, and then at the end of it, I'll shut down the slides and we'll hopefully have a Q&A. So who am I? What are you doing here? I'm a lawyer. I was admitted in 1986, back in the dark ages. I was a CEO of a law firm, and I got involved in value-based pricing in 2017 when I went to America. It was organized by the god of value-based pricing, a guy called Ron Baker. I'd read lots of his books and went out there and became a convert. I wrote a book called Ditch the Billable Hour in January 2024. It's 400 pages, 100,000 words. Many thanks if any of you bought it. And I'm currently writing a new book called Ditch the Switch, which my publisher's beating me up about, and we hope to get it out in October, November time. And I created also something called Declan AI, which is I had it created for me actually by a Scottish company who are very good at legal AI, and they've created a pricing penguin. And I'll introduce you to Declan later on, and I will encourage you to actually have a little play with Declan in the comfort of your own home. And I've also created something called Value Voyage, which is an online digital training course for lawyers, where it just takes them through in a nutshell what the Ditch the Billable Hour is about. One of the questions I always get asked, why the name Big Yellow Penguin? And it really comes from that book in the bottom right-hand corner, or the book you can see here. It's John Cotter's Our Iceberg is Melting. And this is a great book. It's a great book for lawyers. You see the principal penguin character there has a briefcase, and it's all a book about change management. The Cotter methodology is global, and I had to do a change management project at my law firm. I read up on Cotter, and we decided we use the 8 steps of Cotter, which he came up with in Our Iceberg is Melting. Why yellow penguin? Because penguins exist. This fable is about penguins find a new home or they die. Why yellow penguin? Well, yellow penguins exist. They're a genetic abnormality, so they exist. And if any of you have met me in real life, you'll know I'm 6'4". So big yellow penguin. The penguin is a metaphor for change. Okay, I am not some weirdo who dresses up. Okay, I am a weirdo who dresses up as a penguin occasionally for conferences and things like that. And you're more than and if I haven't got the penguin suit, I've got a penguin hat. So what I want to do is actually show you some of the practical steps of things that you can do when implementing change. Now, I'm mercilessly going to say you ought to buy my book, 100,000 words, 400 pages. It tells you how to do this. Those are just some of the reviews on Amazon, but you can read those yourself. This is the second book that I'm writing at the moment, and this is giving 50 value-based pricing examples, 20 private client, 30 commercial client ones, because your lawyers will tell you, oh, value-based pricing can't be done in my area of work because I'm special. And the answer is that's absolute tosh. But this QR code will, if you want to register, when it's available, the publishers will send you some details. And you will have, in the invite that I sent you, a link to get a RACI template, responsible, accountable, consulted and informed checklist. Now, this was came back when I read a book called The Price Advantage by some guys at McKinsey. Terribly sorry if they're listening, quite a dull read, but it had a RACI template in it. And I thought, oh, that's quite good. I will incorporate that into what I was doing. And it basically gives you the 130 points that you need to be able to do if you're talking about implementing value-based pricing. And it is, those of you who've downloaded it will see, it tells you what the tasks are you've got to do and who's going to do them. And who needs to be consulted? Who needs to be informed? So if you haven't got that and you want it, it's available on my website. Just download it at the end of this event. This is what it looks like. Okay, so you'll see it tells you who the project manager is. What has the project manager got to do? What has the Pioneer Penguins got to do, etc., etc. So it's there. So practical steps, get a template. It's free. You can download that and distribute that with your colleagues. I mentioned Declan the penguin. It is an AI-enabled penguin, although I do sponsor a penguin in South Africa who's got a dislocated shoulder, so I can't put him back in the wild. So I sponsor a little penguin called Declan. But Declan AI is basically a pricing assistant that it has a good knowledge of pricing and pricing people. So I was delighted it got to the final of the European Legal Tech Awards earlier this year. Didn't win, but it got to the final, which was quite surprising. And so if you want access to Declan AI and have a play with it, again, you can access that via my website, fill in the form, and I'll send you details of how to log on. I mentioned the Kotter plan, the Kotter methodology. It is a framework, okay? And if you want to understand more about that, there's a 2-minute summary of Kotter's methodology that you can, again, watch in your own time. If you're thinking it's something to do with Prince 2, another methodology, think of that. It's not that Prince 2, but it's, all kinds of change management methodologies exist. But I like to follow Kotter. And if you are a real Kotter fan, you can watch him explain our iceberg is melting in a very cringeworthy video that he recorded next to a penguin. He's not as comfortable around toy penguins as I am, but it is basically this methodology that I base my book on is established methodology. And here it is. This is the plan. It's an 8P point plan. All I've done is taken the Kotter subject, i.e. the fundamental change that is required, and applied a word beginning with P. Okay, this is it. So fundamental change required P1. Why are you doing this? P2, who are your pioneers? Who are the group that are going to pilot this? P3, how are you going to prepare the plan? P4, how are you going to promote it in your organization? P5, how are you going to give people authority to act? You've got to permit them to do this. P6, the prizes. P7, you've got to persevere in change management. And any of you who've been leading change management projects will know that. And P8, you've got to have a passion. You've got to have a passion because what you're trying to do here is create a new culture. So that's the 8P point plan. It is not an email coming out from you as a law firm leader next week saying, can we all do value-based pricing from Monday? As so many people think it is an email. It's not. It is a change management project. And that's why some of these actually fail. And I've been fortunate enough to be invited to speak at partners meetings, and they pay me money to go along to these partners meetings. And I have one part, the CEO at the end of it just said, from Monday, can we all do this? It was nonsense, absolute nonsense. It is not, let's just make it so. It is, let's change together. So P1 paradigm, the fundamental change required. Well, if you're not sure why we should change, those of you, anybody, and I know we've got people from Singapore, Italy, Poland on this webinar, you can actually have access to this event this paper from the Law Society in the UK. There's a link to it there, which they put a bunch of futurists together and said, what's law going to be like in 2030? And this was in 2021 they came up with this. So there's lots of reasons why you might want to change. AI and legal tech might be reasons why you want to change, because if we want to move away from the billable hour and all of these legal tech solutions involve AI, we can do things quicker, more efficient, cheaper. Is that the reason why we want to do it? I'm a great fan of Stephen Mason, and Stephen Mason, linked to his website there. He came up and said, look, pricing for value is one of the most important challenges for legal services at the moment. He said this about 12 years ago, by the way. So, it is an important thing to get our pricing right. 50 reasons not to change. You've got partners. Yeah, there's 50. They will come up with all kinds of things. Too radical. It's impossible. It's against tradition, whatever it is. But there's lots of reasons not to do things. But if you want to make more money in your business, if you want to boost profitability, then you've got to increase your prices, because that is how you will improve the bottom line. And that is effectively the best sentence that appeared in that book, which was the book that had the racy template in it, which was that tough read. So if you've downloaded the racy template, you will know, you will now be following along on the bits of paper that you've got. And what I've done is just highlight. I can't go through 130 points with you, but I can say, look, let's have a look at some of the important ones. Well, P1 paradigm shift. What's the reason? What's the reason for you doing this? You will define your goal in your organization, and you've got to have that goal. And it might be financial growth. It might be because of clients. It might be because you want to have a competitive advantage. It might be your staff well-being. People might be being burnt out. It might be because it's business development, because clients want to have pricing choices. And it might be, well, we're doing this because we want to future-proof our business. I don't know what the goal is going to be for you, what is going to drive you to do that, but you've got to have one. So when we look at P number 1, value-based pricing, and I ask you this, what do clients buy from lawyers? And I ask lawyers this all the time. What do clients buy for you? You would not be, many of you would be surprised when I say it is, oh, they're buying our time. They're buying our expertise. And I've got news for you. They're not buying that. People aren't coming along saying, I'd like to buy a big bag of your time, please. What they're actually wanting is for you to solve their outcomes, their problems, and deliver outcomes. Now, that might be, I want to get the house of my dreams. It might be, I want to get out of a toxic relationship and be happy again. It might be, I want to just get my will and LPAs, like lasting power of attorney, sorted out because I want to be able to sleep at night. These are the outcomes that clients want to buy from us. And we have to start thinking away from time and thinking of delivering these outcomes, okay? Because that's what clients buy from us. They're not interested in our inputs, okay? Warren Buffett, price is what you pay, value is what you get. I'm sure you've heard that. They're not interested in our inputs. They're interested in the outputs. And what clients want from us are results. They want certainty. They want to make sure that they are understood. We might have hundreds of cases on the go. They've only got one, and that's the most important one to them. And we've got to demonstrate we understand it. They don't want they want transparency, surprises, clarity, comfort, and they want value. And the thing is, what is value? Okay, value is not rational. Those of you who are petrol heads will know that's a McLaren. That's my friend Dave. He's holding Declan the Penguin. I'm sitting the other side of Dave. Dave's quite an accomplished driver. He's quite a wealthy individual. And that car was, I think, £250,000. And we went on a track day in the UK, driving around a track. He's launching this thing in 150 miles an hour into corners and things like this. And at the end of it, Dave said, I've got to get my car serviced. And I've got to have a 5,000 mile service, and I've got to have the brake pads put on all four corners. Do you know how much it is to service a McLaren? £23,000. And value that I said, Dave, 23 grand, that is more than I've spent on my car. And value is not rational. This is Dave's boat. Recently sold it, to be honest. 57 footer or 55 footer, very nice. Do you know how much that is to fill up with diesel? Damn it much to fill it up to go over to the Isle of Wight. £5,000. It was £5,000 to fill up his boat with petrol. And I don't think that's rational. But rational, value is different. Okay, value is a feeling. That's my arm with 3 wristwatches on it. I wear a yellow face watch. Has to have a luminous still strap, luminous start. I don't take it off. The watch on the right I bought for £100 off Amazon, but I decided to get a yellow watch. I then got a bonus when I was running my law firm, and I thought I'll treat myself. I'll buy myself a yellow face watch, and you will see that in the middle there is another watch. You can't really see the date on it. It's at about 4 o'clock. It's luminous star steel strap, and it's a Citizen quartz. It's not worth a jot. It was my dad's watch, though. And when my dad had a stroke and he couldn't really tell the time anymore, he wanted me to have his watch. So which watch do you think is the most important to me? And of course, it's my dad's. But if I was to be mugged and the watches were held to ransom, I wouldn't care about the other one. I wouldn't care about the expensive one because it's insured. I'll just get another. But my dad's one, how much would I pay to get it back? I can't quite go over £9,500. But if I did, my wife would kill me. Okay, because for her it's not worth anything. Why do people buy fair trade bananas? They're smaller, they're more expensive, and we buy them because we're trying to do our bit. We're helping people in far-flung lands, helping farmers. We're not usually that bothered so much that we read where the bananas are from. We just know they're fair trade, but we do it because we're doing our bit. Why do people queue up at midnight to get the latest Apple product? That's not rational. And the thing is that value is contextual. The amount you will pay for a glass of water where you are now in your house, in your office, is pennies, minuscule amounts. You'll pay more in a garage when you fill up your car and decide you're going to get a bottle of water, and you pour more in a high-end restaurant. But it's all the same stuff. It's H2O. And if you were crawling out from a desert and you came across me as an unscrupulous water dealer, and I had a bottle of ice cold water, I could sell that to you for hundreds and hundreds of pounds, assuming that I had the only bottle of water. And so value changes in various contexts, but it is always H2O. And the thing is here, you're looking at 4 bottles of water. Now, you got Hilda mineral water, you got Sainsbury's, you got Fiji. Can you believe it? They export their water. And you got Evian, which you might notice is naive spelt backwards. I'll just leave that with you there, but it's all the same product. So when lawyers talk about having a commodity, it is not. Okay, if water could be branded in different ways, legal services can. Now I know some of you will be saying, "Look, we need expert evidence in support of pricing." Sean, I'll give you 2 experts. Okay, you've got Mark Ritson, global brand consultant, marketing professor. Please follow him on LinkedIn. He's brilliant. Okay, so you've got Mark Ritson, who's at the cutting edge. Then you've got David Ogilvy, who's dead now, but he's generally reckoned to be the father of advertising. Now, so what does Ogilvy say about pricing? He said it's usually assumed that marketers use scientific methods to determine the pricing of their products. In almost every case, the process is one of guesswork. You think, hello, hang on, David. Well, he must be wrong because he's old. He's old school. Let's see what Mark Ritson says. Pricing is the worst of all marketing areas. How prices are decided is often a mixture of voodoo and bingo. So this is what happens. Okay, these are experts telling you this is how they determine pricing. So it comes up to what is value-based pricing then? Well, my definition is that it's just agreeing a price which is fair to them, but fair to the firm that carried out the work which created the value. And it's not the 6 minutes it takes me to give you the answer. It's the 6 minutes and 36 years that I've been a lawyer that allows me to give you that answer. And we've got to try and capture that value for what we do because it's not the time. Now, we all know the story about the old engineer. The factory had ground to a halt, and they said, "Get the old engineer up for the village." No one could fix the machine, so they got the old engineer up for the village, and he came up to the factory, and he listened to the machine. Then he took out his hammer, he tapped the machine, and the machine started running. And then what he did, he sent in a bill for £1,000 to the factory owner, and the factory owner said, "This is ridiculous. Get me a breakdown of that bill." And the old engineer sent in a breakdown, which was cost of hammer, £2, knowing where to tap, £998. Now, you would have heard that story, that joke, that fable. Got news for you, folks. Not a joke. This is Charles Steinmetz. He was a brilliant electrical engineer. He was hanging around with Nikola Tesla, Einstein, people like that. He was born in 1865 in Poland. He went to America. And in 1923, a factory ground to a halt. And they said, get someone in here who can fix this factory. and they put Steinmetz in there. He spent 48 hours in there, sleeping, listening to the machines, getting up, listening to the machines. And he put 2 chalk marks, didn't have a hammer. He had 2 chalk marks and 2 machines, told the engineers, you need to change the coils in these machines. They did, and the machines started running. He sent in a bill in 1923 for $10,000. 1923, $10,000. The factory owner said, get me a breakdown of that bill. So Steinmetz sent in a bill, said, trust of chalk, $1, knowing where to put the chalk marks, 9,999. The factory was Ford's. It had ground to a halt. Henry Ford paid the bill. So if you're looking back in history for value-based pricing, we can probably go much further. This is a good fable to tell. And the thing is, when it comes to value-based pricing, there is no formula. There's no silver bullet solution. And this is a guy called Jim Haslett, who's now retired. But he wrote a book in 2014, and he was saying, look, law firms could go out of business while they're waiting for a solution. And guess what? Some law firms have gone out of business waiting for some solution. Now, look, value-based pricing has got lots of benefits. For clients, predictability, certainty. No, if I tell you it's going to cost you $5,000, I send you a bill for $5,000. We've got no dispute, no surprises, reassurance. When I put together a proposal for one client and a fixed price proposal with lots of details in it, I was 100% more expensive than my competitor, but the client chose me because he said, your proposal is professional, well thought out, gave us confidence. The other firm equally as good. They could have done it equally as good a job, but we got paid more. The advantages from the business differentiates you from the competition. Your profits will increase, clearer bill forecasting. Morale is better. You attract proactive lawyers. You can motivate lawyers and reward lawyers who overperform. Firm Lynn & Brown who, in Perth, Western Australia, great little firm. If you want to have a look on their website, they say we will always agree a price for the work we do with you up front. And if you get an invoice from us you've not previously authorized, don't pay it. That's a bit of a unique selling point. What's in it for individual lawyers? Well, our clients are pre-authorizing our fees. We act for clients who value what we do. We don't act for poor clients. We get fewer client complaints and we can hit our targets. And we don't have clients suffering from bill shock when we present them with a bill that they weren't expecting. So that's your P1 paradigm. Why should you even think about value-based pricing? So I hope that's giving you some reasons why you should. P2, pioneers. Who's the group that's going to explore the new way of working? Well, you've got to attract some pioneer penguins in your organization. And you've got to get people who are not wedded to the status quo, people who are prepared to challenge the way you do things, okay? They've got to have a growth mindset. They've got to be natural influencers in the organization. And they've got to be, have a client focus. These are the attributes of pioneer penguins, okay? And I can't go through every point, but basically you need people who are going to buy into what you're trying to achieve as part of your vision. And then we need to anticipate the naysayer penguins, the no-no penguins. In our iceberg is melting. There's a penguin called no-no, go, oh, no. That'll never work around here. And you will have no-no penguins in your organizations. And we do need to take these people into account as part of our planning. Okay, P3 is plan. What's the plan? The strategy and the vision. Mention the plan. Here is a copy of the plan again, so we can do this. We need to anticipate the no-no penguins, the naysayers. Okay, we've got to listen, understand. We've got to take their concerns on board. Okay, we've got to address them, and we've got to have a strategy for dealing with the no-no penguins, because every law firm will have them. And what they say actually can be very, very valuable, but we've got to make sure they're heard. And this healthy skepticism we can bring into our planning and our delivery. Okay, so these are the kind of things that we will do with our no-no penguins. We've got to create parameters and rules for client deselection. We've got to get rid of our poor clients, okay, for what we're doing with value-based pricing. Bad clients drive out good clients, okay? And I'll show you some surveys in a moment, but we'll come to that in a moment. We've got to also create a fixed price agreement, a template, our documentation for presenting these prices and tools. We need a variety of tools, just highlighting one here, the template that we need. And then, as I mentioned, part of our planning is we're going to have this vision. We're going to design a pricing process. I call it in my book, a big book of usefulness, but a practice area pricing policy and plan that our lawyers will be able to follow. Really important that we document this stuff. So we've got to have the big books of usefulness. And then we're going to have, when we think about what goes into our fixed price agreement template, well, it'll have stuff about who the client is. It's going to clearly define what we're doing. It's clearly going to set out what the assumptions are that we're making here. It's clearly going to set out what we're not doing. And it's going to have a pricing structure for each option. I'm a great fan of giving gold, silver, bronze, options, good, better, best, call it whatever you want, but giving clients 3 price points. And then we will, in our fixed price agreements, tell them what will happen if things go out of scope, i.e. that we will actually have a conversation with them. It will talk about our service standards that we're going to adhere to, and it will, deal with termination provisions, risk management, etc. Now, you will have people in your organization say, no, you can't possibly, for my area of work, create gold, silver, bronze options, because what my area of work is special. This is the second book I'm working on. This is the one coming up in October. It's going to have 50 value-based pricing examples in it. Okay, so this can be done. I'm doing it. So if I can create these things, your lawyers can do this. Okay, we've got to create a vision and have a vision statement, whatever that is for our organization. It could be client focused, it could be innovation, it could be a people focused vision. These are just examples of visions that you may or may not want to incorporate into whatever you're trying to do. Is it a market leadership vision? Is it we are transforming our business vision? But you've got to have a vision, and it's something that you will be able to actually bump into someone by the coffee machine or whatever, and when someone asks you, what is it we're trying to do? You can answer that question. Really important. We've then got, once we've got our vision, we've got to promote this. We've got to have a comms plan. And most change management projects fail because of the absence of communications. It goes quiet. People think, oh, they were banging on about this project. Oh, it's all gone quiet. They're not going to do anything about it now. So we've got to have that comms plan and make sure we deliver on that. And, it's got to be regular. It's got to be clear. It's got to be consistent. We've got to make sure that we design communications for each of the 8 areas of the 8 P-point plan. And in Ditch the Billable Out, I've created all of the comms plans for these areas or examples. But we've got to keep weekly updates, regular feedback sessions, monitor the feedback, lessons learned as we go along. All of this stuff is really, really important to assure that we can deliver this plan. And then, this is one lawyers struggle with. We've got to permit. We've got to give people permission and the authority to act and do things differently. And I'm a great fan in carrying out what I call a firm-wide pricing confidence survey. So when I work with a law firm, we devise questionnaires, usually between 40 and 50 questions. And it's sent out to the whole firm. Data comes back to me. It's anonymous. I don't know who's answering these questions. And what is interesting when you ask questions of your people is you will find that there are answers to things that you did not know as a law firm leader. Okay, so we've got to ask some questions. This is one question. When someone new joins your team, how is the pricing training undertaken? I've asked this question over 167 times now. Predominant answer, it's not. We don't have pricing training. We might tell them what their hourly rate is. So, or we tell them it's time recording. So these are the answers. It doesn't happen. How are your pricing policies documented? The answer is most common, no idea, not sure, or they aren't. Or they're hourly rates, or they're in the heads of partner. partners. Someone actually replied once, not at all in any usable form. Well, that's interesting. So, it's just madness. We've got to have clear pricing policies. How is pricing reviewed at your firm? No idea. Not sure. It isn't. This is what your people will come back and you'll get answers like this to the surveys that you carry out. Okay. So another question. I believe that some of the clients that my firm act for are painful to work for and unprofitable to act for. And I, given the choice, would like to stop acting for them. It's a question. What do you think the answers are that I get to that? It's always yes. It's always positive. This is just one that I took from one firm. Here it is at 70%. Yes. I've had answers that the lowest is 50% of the staff saying, yeah, we act for painful and unprofitable people. And the highest, I had a firm once, 100% of the staff said we act for painful and unprofitable clients. What's it like at that firm? It must be awful. And when I delivered the data to this particular management team, it was kind of, that might be why we have a high turnover of lawyers then. No, really? Do you think that might be? Crazy. So we've got to do confidence surveys. We've got to find out what's going on. One of the questions actually is, have you had any pricing training? And I've had CEOs look me in the face and say, no one has had any training before. And then we ask the question and we find out that, 8% of the staff have, but at other firms, nobody thought to ask them. So this is why we want to do these pricing confidence surveys. And once you permit your staff to stick their hands up to you and say, we shouldn't act for someone, you can find you can earn more money, or that we should charge more. Now, for those of you, and I know we've got people from all over the world tuning into this, you'll think, who is that person there? That person there is Macy Adams. She's a comedian. Okay. I'm a great fan of stand-up comedy. Now, one firm I was working with, they had a lawyer within the team, one of the pioneer penguins called Macy. And she heard at the kickoff meeting me say it's okay to price clients differently. If you think someone's going to be a problem, if you're maxed out with work, you think this client is going to be difficult, it's okay to put your prices up. And I'm sitting next to the CEO, and I said to the CEO, are you endorsing what I'm saying? He said, absolutely. It's okay to do this. So Macy heard what I said. Next week, when we go back in, I said, has anyone had any success? And Macy said, yeah, I have. I'm residential conveyancer. Our normal fee for doing something was £3,750. I spoke to this guy, getting a quote. It was quite clear he was going to be really problematic. He was a little bit rude to me, actually. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do the work, and we're going to do the work, I'm going to charge him more. So she upped the fee by £2,000. And she said the fee is £5,750. The client said, fine. Macy's very happy about that. Now, if I were to say to you, what level of post-qualification experience, what level of lawyer is Macy? I suspect many of you think, oh, she must be quite senior in the organisation. I can tell you she was a first-year legal apprentice, about as junior as you can get in a UK law firm. But she had heard her CEO say it's okay to do this, and she believed and was confident enough to ask. And that is where we need to be like Macy, okay? And actually ask for what we're doing. And then when we're doing this stuff, we've got to actually create some quick wins. We've got to celebrate success. And we certainly were celebrating the success of Macy. And you've got to create ways of celebrating success within your organization, because this has to be visible. Your people have to know about this. And loads of ways you can do this. And, walls of fame, victory emails. I've yet to come across a firm who have actually got a value bell that they ring or whatever, but lots of sales organizations have those team celebrations, okay? Client-focused celebrations, formal recognition in your newsletters, etc., team meetings, annual meetings of the terms, certificates. You've got to keep this stuff high profile if you're going to deliver on this. And then actually you look for professional development opportunities for your ambassadors to do this. Okay, so we've got to think about the prizes. What is it we can do? And then we've got to persevere. Change is hard. We know this. We've got to keep going. And you might think, well, actually, let's start defining and creating career development pathways for value-based pricing champions. It's just one thing there, because we want these people to stay with us. I can tell you something, if I was still running a law firm and Macy was one of the target, what Macy had come to my attention as a junior lawyer, I'd be going, all guns out to try and get her to come and join my firm. Retention, motivation, it helps with this. Okay. Cultural embedding is important about why we've got to do this with value-based pricing. We've got to look at skills development and training. This is a training program. This is why it's not on Monday, can we all do it? This is a training program. HR have got to be involved. Marketing have got to be involved. And I've got seminars coming up, webinars like this coming up, aimed at those specific disciplines. So we've got to make sure that we develop these skills in our businesses and we maintain this momentum and we persevere. And then we can actually identify, well, who are the champions then? Well, this helps us identify the future leaders in our business. And it helps us with recruitment. Because guess what? Vast majority of your staff don't like filling in timesheets, living their life in 1 minute units. How are we going to time record stuff now when we're getting Copilot to do lots of summaries for us? Are we just charging the 2 hours that you used to do it, or do we now Copilot does it in 10 minutes? What do we put down on our timesheets? So, it helps us with our business development and running our businesses and earning our profits, okay? And without a clear career paths, okay, your champions might feel undervalued. They might start looking elsewhere, which is not good news. And they might revert to their old ways. And that's not good news either. And it comes up to PA passion, all right? We've got to have enthusiasm for this. We've got to try and create this change. Again, coming back to Jean-Luc Picard, it is not make it so. It's a change management project. We need to keep emphasizing this. And then we keep stuck thinking, well, has this change happened? How's it changed happen? Well, what might be some of the indicators? Well, people are talking more about value and not about time. We're talking about outcomes. We're talking about we're being client focused. We're developing pricing approaches, tools, collaborations, etc. is really important. We're having these value conversations up front with our client. We're pricing before the work starts. If we give a client a price at the beginning and they can't afford it, or we give them 3 options and they can't afford any of them, let's find out they're not a fit at the beginning, not at the end, when we've done all the work, and then we find we're not getting paid. Okay? And we've got to have value-based pricing becomes part of our methodology, our standard procedures. We're going to have the teams collaborating more. We're going to see that people can lead by example and do this. Look, if a 19-year-old junior lawyer can do this, then your older partners can do this, okay? And we'll see that write-offs have dramatically, improved. Our cash flow is better. We're earning more money and we've got more predictable income. This is what is important when you get onto this. We get clients they're more satisfied. Again, if I give you a price at $5,000 and you select the $5,000 option, I bill you $5,000. We're not going to have a dispute over fees. We get fewer price complaints. And so much of compliance in law firms is dealt with on dealing with pricing and time recording issues. And then we will be able to look at how we recruit people. And if one thing you take away from today and do differently, next time you interview someone coming for a job in your law firm, say, how do you price at your current firm? And if you've got someone who says, yeah, we're into value-based pricing, hire them straight away, because these people are worth their weight in gold, and they can come into your organization and help, by doing what they do, that will help other people copy. I did a project with one firm probably 3 years ago now, And I had a Zoom call like this, and I said, look, we British, we got to get better at asking for money. And a young lady piped up. She said, look, she said, I've been here 3 weeks. I think we charge too little. I was charging double the amount at my old firm than I was when I came here. I want to charge more. And she said, I have no trouble asking for money. And she said, but then again, maybe that's because I'm Polish. And, you know, I thought, well, I don't think I can, in the West Midlands, staff a whole firm with Polish people. But this person believed in her value, absolutely believed in her value. And that actually really helped with the project because her colleagues started following her. Okay, back to the 8P plan. You know, this has become embedded when it becomes, this is how we do things around here. Okay, so this is what we've got to get to. And if you're good at this, and if you do this, this little icon here is the future is so bright, you've got to wear shades. It's a song by Tim Buck-3, I think, from the 1980s, Future So Bright, you've got to wear shades. It's on Spotify, I'm sure. But this is where we want to get to. And some final practical steps before I throw this open to questions for you. If you've got a residential conveyancing team and you're in England and Wales, on the 9th of September, I'm doing revealing the results of a conveyancing survey. It's staggering. It's regional. It's showing what law firms are charging for. If you'd like to come to that, go onto LinkedIn, follow the link, book yourself in. The book, that's the first book. You might want to invest in a copy. Ditch a switch, okay? You might want to invest in a copy when it comes out. That's how you can get it in advance. The the RACI template. Get a copy. Cost you nothing, but have a look at how you do this. Value Voyage. If you're interested in the digital course I've mentioned, I'll happily send you some details of it. Declan the AI Penguin. Happily set you up with an account. Have a play with him. You can ask him questions. You know, he's available 24/7, and it is becoming really, really powerful now. It is a great bit of kit. And finally, before I throw out the questions, some of the questions that I'm sure some of you have: will you speak at partners meetings or staff meetings? Yes. And there's an inquiry form on my website. Give me a call and we'll have a chat. And if you're thinking, well, look, how much would you charge to have a chat with me about my issues and how you might be able to help? The answer is nothing. I'd happily have a chat with you about what you're facing and how you might address some of these issues. Okay. And you might be thinking, how much is that book on Amazon? Well, today, they keep the Amazon algorithm. I got no idea how it works. It's £43.65. So the first one is £43.65. The recommended retail price is £49.99. But that's some of the questions. Okay, I am going to stop sharing my screen, which should mean my head becomes a bit bigger, etc., etc. And I'm going to say to you, folks, has anybody got any questions of their own that they would like to ask? And if so, take yourself off mute or raise your hand or somehow ask me the question. I'll just have a look in the chat here. Have we got anything? I've got a note, just a general chat with an AI companion. So I'm going to shut that down. And someone is saying, somebody started a Fireflies thing. Okay, fine. Anybody got any questions?
Yes, maybe one question. Sorry, because I was not able to, to attend the beginning of the meeting. Is there any chance to get a presentation to find the links which you presented?
I will. If you send me an email, Sean at bigyellowpenguin.co.uk, I will download and save these slides as a PDF, and I can ping that back to you with all the links on it, and you can join whichever one floats your boat.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. If you haven't got any questions, I'm going to go and have a cup of tea and a sandwich. What I would say to you, just to conclude, you know, this is now a change management project. It takes some planning. It takes you to onboard your partners, your management, your C-suite have got to get on board. In the first book, I I interviewed 20 wise people. And one guy, Simon Tuttman, who's written a book called The Heart of Leadership, talks about entering into a contract with partners about delivering this. And I think that is a really valid point. And I've started doing that now when I'm working with law firms, and we get the pilot group to say, well, we'll enter into this contract with each other, because it is really important that if you decide to go down this road that you do get people on board and you do get them committing to what you're trying to do. Because look, faced with what we're facing with AI and the billable hour, I think this is something that's got to be embraced. I get lots of inquiries about this because of AI. This book, my first book, came out before ChatGPT had really become mainstream. Okay. So it is a change management project. You do need to think closely about what you're doing. And if any of you would like to have a chat with me after this, please do get in touch. I can talk about this all day. I enjoy talking about it. I enjoy working with lawyers. But if there are no more questions, I'm going to let you go and get your lunches as well. And thank you very much for joining. I wish you well with all your endeavors. And if, as I say, I'm at the end of an email. If any of you would like the details, just please send me a link. But for now, everybody, thank you very much.